Somewhere in your kitchen right now, a fly is eyeing your trash can like it's a five-star maternity ward. Give it 24 hours, and those eggs turn into squirming maggots while a sour, gagging reek climbs out to greet you every time you lift the lid. But that same $1 brown bottle sitting in your medicine cabinet can shut the whole thing down for pennies. Here are 11 hydrogen peroxide trash can tricks that stop flies, maggots, and odors cold. Let's get into it. Number 1. Wipe out a live maggot outbreak on contact. Let's start with the nightmare scenario, because if you're watching this, there's a decent chance you just lifted your lid and found the bottom of your can moving. Take a breath. Maggots are the larvae of common houseflies, and the good news is they're basically immobile targets stuck in the muck they hatched in. That makes them incredibly easy to kill. Grab the plain 3% hydrogen peroxide from the drugstore, the exact same bottle you'd use on a scraped knee, and pour it directly onto the maggots. You don't need a fancy dilution for a full-blown outbreak. Coat them completely. Peroxide is a powerful oxidizer, and when it contacts the soft, thin-skinned bodies of the larvae, it tears apart the cells on contact and kills them within minutes. You'll often see it fizz and foam as it hits the layer of bacteria and rotting organic gunk they're feeding on. That foaming isn't just for show, it's the reaction actively breaking down the filth the maggots need to survive. Once they've stopped moving, scoop out the dead larvae, bag them, and take them straight to the curb. Then rinse the can. It's one of the fastest, cheapest, least toxic ways to deal with something genuinely stomach-turning, using an item you almost certainly already own. Number 2, destroy the smell instead of masking it. Here's the part almost nobody understands about trash can stink. Those scented sprays and plug-ins you keep buying don't actually remove odor. They just pile a stronger, prettier smell on top of the bad one and hope your nose gives up first. Hydrogen peroxide works on a completely different level. Garbage smell comes mostly from two families of molecules: sulfur compounds called thiols, which are responsible for that rotten egg decaying meat punch, and aldehydes and other volatile organic compounds that build up as food breaks down. When hydrogen peroxide breaks down, it releases hydroxyl radicals, extremely reactive little molecules that chemically attack those stink compounds and oxidize them into new substances that have a faint odor or none at all. In other words, it doesn't cover the smell, it dismantles it. To use it, pour your 3% peroxide into a spray bottle, mist the inside of a clean, dry can until the surfaces are damp, and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes before wiping it out. The CDC actually classifies household hydrogen peroxide as a deodorant in addition to a disinfectant, which tells you this isn't folk remedy wishful thinking, it's recognized chemistry. Do this once a week, and your can stops being the thing you smell the second you walk into the kitchen. Number 3, turn off the fly landing strip. Flies don't randomly pick your trash can. They're guided in by the film of bacteria and food residue coating the plastic. That's the scent trail that says food and a safe place to lay eggs in fly language. Strip away that film and you make the whole surface far less inviting. Mix 1 part hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water in a spray bottle, then wipe down the outside of the can, the lid, and the surrounding countertop or floor where flies like to touch down. The peroxide does 2 jobs at once. It disinfects away the bacterial residue that flies left behind and are attracted to, and it discourages them from landing there again. You're essentially erasing the welcome mat. This is a great everyday move for kitchen counters and the dining table too, since those are prime fly runways. One honest caveat worth knowing: hydrogen peroxide has no lasting residual effect. It works while it's wet and in contact, then breaks down harmlessly into water and oxygen. That's fantastic for safety. There's no toxic film left where your food prep happens, but it means this isn't a spray once and forget it solution. Reapply it as part of your regular wipe down, and you keep the landing strip shut down. Number 4, foam the hidden gunk out of the bottom. Ever notice that even after you pull the bag, the very bottom of the can still has a sticky, dark, faintly horrifying layer welded to it? That's not just dried soda, it's a bacterial biofilm, the buffet that feeds both the smell and the next generation of maggots. Scrubbing it with a sponge barely touches it and mostly just spreads it around. This is where peroxide's foaming reaction becomes a genuine tool instead of a party trick. Organic gunk and living bacteria contain an enzyme called catalase, and when hydrogen peroxide meets it, it rapidly splits into water and oxygen gas. That's the fizzing you see. Those thousands of tiny oxygen bubbles physically lift and loosen the crud from the plastic, doing a chunk of the scrubbing for you. Pour a generous amount of 3% peroxide straight onto the bottom of an emptied can, enough to pool over the sticky layer. Let it sit and foam for 10 to 15 minutes. Come back, give it a quick swipe with a brush or paper towel, and rinse. The film that used to require aggressive elbow grease wipes away with almost none. And because you've removed the biofilm entirely, not just masked it, you've taken out both the odor source and the breeding surface in a single step. Number 5. Shut down the fruit fly nursery. Big house flies aren't your only problem. Those tiny reddish-brown fruit flies that suddenly materialize in a cloud every summer are breeding in the fermenting residue inside your can, your liner, and very often the drain right next to it. Kill the adults all you want, but if you don't hit the eggs and larvae in the breeding site, they just keep coming back. Hydrogen peroxide targets the nursery directly. Pour about a cup of 3% peroxide into the liner or down the nearby drain where the film has built up. When it hits the bacteria in that gunk, it foams up, and that reaction kills the adult flies, the larvae, and the eggs living in it while chewing through the grime they depend on. Because it breaks down into just oxygen and water, it won't corrode your pipes the way harsh drain cleaners can. For the trash can itself, clean the liner or bin with hot soapy water first, then generously spray hydrogen peroxide inside, and let it dwell for about 10 minutes before drying it. That combination, physically removing the food source, then disinfecting what's left, is what actually breaks the fruit fly cycle. One targeted treatment on the breeding ground beats 100 swats at the adults flying around your fruit bowl. Number 6. Disinfect the lid, rim, and rubber gasket. Here's a spot almost everyone misses, and it's the single sneakiest fly nursery in the whole can. The underside of the lid, the top rim, and especially the rubber gasket or seal that runs around a nicer trash can. Splatter collects there, it stays warm and dark, and it's the perfect protected ledge for a fly to lay a batch of eggs completely out of sight. You empty the bag, feel accomplished, and never realize the real problem is riding around on the lid. Give it the peroxide treatment. Spray 3% hydrogen peroxide onto the underside of the lid, the rim, and into the groove of the gasket. Then let it sit a few minutes and wipe it down. Peroxide is safe on the plastic and rubber components of a standard trash can, so you don't have to worry about it degrading the seal. This matters more than it sounds. That gasket is exactly what keeps a lidded can smelling contained, and if it's crusted with bacteria, it's leaking odor and hosting eggs at the same time. Hitting it turns your lid from an accidental incubator back into an actual barrier. It takes about 30 seconds, and it's the difference between a can that's kind of clean and one that's actually shut down, top to bottom. Number 7, revive a smelly reusable liner or bag. If you use a reusable bin liner, a cloth or canvas trash bag, or one of those washable pail liners for cloth diapers or compost, you already know they hold on to smell like a grudge. Toss them in the wash, and half the time they come out still faintly reeking, because the odor-causing compounds and bacteria are baked deep into the fabric. Hydrogen peroxide is a well-known laundry odor fighter for exactly this reason. It breaks down odor molecules and kills the bacteria producing them instead of just perfuming over them. For a reusable liner, first rinse it with plenty of hot, soapy water, then generously spray or soak it with 3% hydrogen peroxide. Let it dwell for 10 minutes or so, and if you can, dry it in direct sunlight, which adds its own natural sanitizing and bleaching boost. One important heads up, hydrogen peroxide acts as a mild bleach. On a plain white or neutral liner, that's a bonus. It brightens as it deodorizes. But on anything brightly colored or patterned, test a hidden corner first because it can lighten dyes over time. Used on the right fabrics, though, it takes a liner that smelled permanently ruined and brings it back to genuinely usable, which saves you from tossing and rebuying it. Number 8. Bleach out the brown drip stains. You know, the streaks, those brown and yellow drip marks that run down the inside and sometimes the outside of a can that's seen some things. No amount of dish soap seems to fully lift them, and they make even a freshly emptied can look grimy and gross. That lingering stained look is also a quiet signal to your own brain that this thing is dirty, even after you've cleaned it. Because hydrogen peroxide is a mild oxidizing bleach. It's excellent at breaking down exactly these kinds of organic stains from coffee, sauce, juice, and general food drippings. Spray the stained areas with 3% peroxide, or lay a peroxide-soaked paper towel directly over a stubborn streak so it stays in contact, and let it work for 10 to 15 minutes. The oxidation reaction lightens and lifts the discoloration without the harsh fumes of chlorine bleach. For a really set-in stain, you can make a paste with baking soda and a little peroxide. Spread it on, let it sit, then scrub gently and rinse. The result is a can that doesn't just smell clean, but actually looks clean, bright plastic instead of that permanent dingy tint. It's a small thing, but a can you're not embarrassed by is a can you're far more likely to keep maintaining. Number 9. Tame the summer curbside. Bin. Your outdoor curbside bin is a special kind of horror in July. The sun turns the inside into a hot, humid oven, which intensifies the smell of rotting food and effectively broadcasts an invitation to every fly in the neighborhood. A single female fly can lay hundreds of eggs, and in that heat, they can go from egg to maggot to new fly in about a week. That's how one bin becomes a swarm. Hydrogen peroxide is well suited to the big outdoor job because it deodorizes and disinfects at the same time, then breaks down into nothing but water and oxygen, no chemical residue baking in the sun. After your bin gets emptied on collection day, rinse out the loose debris, then coat the inside walls and bottom with 3% peroxide, or a 1-to-1 peroxide and water mix for a large surface. Let it sit and foam against the built-up film for 10 to 15 minutes, then rinse. Doing this right after pickup is the key move, because that's the one moment the bin is empty and you can actually reach the surfaces where odor and eggs accumulate. You're knocking out the smell that draws flies in and disinfecting the film they'd lay eggs in, cutting the summer infestation cycle off before it starts on the container that needs it most. Number 10. The contact time soak for a badly infested can. Sometimes a quick spray isn't enough. If a can has been neglected long enough that it's genuinely infested with active maggots, thick biofilm, and a smell that hits you from across the room, what it needs isn't more product, it's more time. With disinfectants, contact time is everything. The longer the peroxide stays wet and in contact with the bacteria and larvae, the more thoroughly it works. For a deep reset, take the can outside, empty and rinse it, then really saturate the inside, bottom, walls, corners, and rim with 3% hydrogen peroxide until everything is visibly wet. For a smaller can, you can even add a couple of cups of peroxide plus some water and let it pool in the bottom. Now walk away and let it dwell for a solid 15 to 30 minutes. During that window, the oxidation is killing larvae on contact, foaming apart the biofilm, and neutralizing the odor compounds all at once. Come back, scrub the loosened gunk with a long brush, dump the liquid, and give it a final rinse. Let it dry completely, ideally in the sun. This is the nuclear option for a can most people would just throw away, and it routinely brings a truly disgusting bin back to fully usable for the price of a bottle or two of peroxide instead of the cost of a whole new can. Number 11. Pre-treat the empty can to delay the next batch. The smartest trick isn't reacting to an infestation. It's making your can a bad place to start one in the first place. Flies choose where to lay eggs based on scent cues from bacteria and rotting residue. A can that's been disinfected down to bare, clean plastic simply doesn't send out those signals as strongly, so it's a less appealing target. So every time you swap the bag, take 10 seconds to mist the empty can with your 1 to 2 peroxide and water spray, let it dwell a minute, and wipe or let it air dry before the new liner goes in. You're clearing out the residue and bacterial film before it has a chance to build back up into a fly beacon. Now, the honest part, because hydrogen peroxide leaves no lasting residual, this isn't a force field. It works in the moment and then breaks down, which is exactly why it's so safe around your kitchen. But it also means prevention has to be a habit, not a one-time event. Pair it with the real fundamentals. Take the trash out regularly. Don't let wet or rotting food sit. Rinse containers before they go in and keep the lid closed. Peroxide is the cheap, non-toxic tool that makes those habits far more effective, a few cents a week versus a summer of flies. 2 rules keep this simple and safe. First, never mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar together in the same bottle. That combination forms peracetic acid, a corrosive irritant to your eyes, skin, and lungs. It's fine to use them one after the other on a surface, just never sealed up together. Same goes for bleach. Don't combine them. Second, store your peroxide in its original dark bottle because light, heat, and air break it down and weaken it. And of course, never drink it and wear gloves for any long soak. And there you have it. 11 ways one cheap brown bottle can shut down the flies, maggots, and odors coming out of your trash can for pennies. If any of these save you a gross afternoon this summer, do me a favor and hit that like button and share it with someone whose kitchen needs it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.